Hey, what's going on, everyone, and welcome to the Deceptilab, and welcome to my weekly live stream. And today we got a couple of things to talk about. I'm going to talk a little bit about the endurance bots again, so Wreck-Gar for the Autobot side, Junkion for the Decepticon side, and just a couple of things that I wanted to touch on that we noticed in playtest over the week. You guys probably saw either in the newsletter or on Discord. Um, just lot of things to be concerned about. So we'll talk about that, and then also because it's an endurance event, probably going to go through and just make sure that I got my endurance event prep going correctly, set up correctly. So I am going to be going for the 5-star bot this go around, and we'll see how it goes. Hoping to get most of my stuff done. I'm trying to get most of it done on Friday because I'll be honest with you, with events, I just slowly wear down over the week. Um, it's the opening weekend for the NFL. So Sunday, I want to be focused on that kickback. So hopefully, I'm done with it by Saturday. So we'll see how it goes. Um, Maybe I'll even slide in like a live stream, an additional live stream, to keep me busy. So who knows? Um, if I do, I'll keep you guys posted. And then I got a couple of requests that I want to look at this week as well. So probably throw that into my event prep. And yeah, it should be a pretty chill day. So before we get into any of that, let's get into the newsletter, which this week's event is going to be called Junk Culture and is the fourth week of Saga Season 19. And like we already mentioned, Wreck-Gar and Jump Heap are going to be our bots for the endurance healer class bots, as we mentioned last week. And so 100 tiers total, and there you can actually see the prize charts. And I think I'm gonna be a little bit short on 5-star shards. I'm actually going to talk about that because I think I'm going in a different direction with my 5-star pulls. I'll talk about that in a little bit. But yeah, so for those of you going for the 4-star bot, 1.5 million. And for those of you going for the 5-star bot, 3.5 million for Alliance, typical battle zones. And let's look at the game updates and information. And so for those of you who subscribe to the newsletter, there is going to be a raffle, and it's going to be so for you to get a 4-star non-duplicate, and they'll reveal the winner for that next week. And there's a bunch of notes that the apes wanted you to know about Wreck-Gar and Junkion. So some key details they talk about. Um, the range, you can tag anyone from any range. You can tag multiple bots as long as you have the ability points. Um, the tag works, so the ability is going to work even if Wreck-Gar or Junkion, if they're dead, you'll still get that revive. The health given back is based on a percentage of the tagged bot's base health. So obviously we went over last week when you're maxed out, that's 100%, but it's based on the base health, the not the healer's health, not Wreck-Gar or Junkheap's health. Um, and the key thing that came up this week is that these guys have counters. So when you start talking about Ray Blocker, Build Bots, and Acid is still going to affect. So the revive is going to get treated like a heal. We'll take a look at that in a little bit. You are able to tag combat bots. You can combine it with Vector Prime. And you can tag a bot regardless of how much health it has remaining. So you can do it early and then it'll just revive automatically when it hits 0 health. Or you can do it late if you want to play it a little bit risky. Um, One thing that came out after the live stream last week, Space Ape said they didn't intend for this to be a primary healer. They're supposed to complement other medic bots. A lot of players use double healers, and I'll talk about that in a little bit also. Said FFD won't remove any tags, and there's no overkill mechanic because there was a point where we were playtesting and you would use the ability and if the bot had high enough health, uh, it kind of just override it, and so they made sure that that wasn't a thing. And you can actually see the stats for Retgar in there. The G1 core I didn't talk about. I can actually show that off last time, even though I know some of the other content creators did show it off, but we can talk about it too. Some playtest thoughts, and I believe it didn't say that, but I believe that's coming from Texas Hammer, uh, who actually his summary of it, if you hadn't read it already, is pretty similar to mine. Um, and we'll talk about that in a little bit too. Did notice that typically the day that the newsletter's coming out, Space Ape will go in there and they'll give us they'll send us a ping to playtest asking for that. I didn't recall seeing that today. Um, Not that I was really interested in writing one for this one anyway, because I'll be honest with you, man. Talking about this bot this week, it kind of got on my nerves a little bit because just the whole no, these are the bots that are good, these are the bots that aren't good. Like I was going through the whole thing last week, but there's only 10 to 15 bots in the game that people were deeming at the top level worthwhile. And I said, well, you know what? I just kind of stopped talking about it. I stopped talking about it online. I stopped talking about it on Discord. I just said, you know what? Then play the game how you want. I'm going to play it the way that I want. We'll see how it turns out. Um, it is what it is. I say I'm not going to waste any time on it, especially when I start getting like personal attacks and stuff like that about whether it be about my gameplay, war score, stuff like that. And it's just like, all right, well, we'll see what happens. I'm building something in the background. I started talking about it a little bit last week. We'll see how it turns out. That's going to be my priority for this endurance event. And so if I happen to get a 5-star bot out of it as well, then it is what it is. I like it. Content creators, make sure you check out all of your content creators, official ones, Engineer Horse, myself, Soldier, and Sunstreaker Waza, all making really great content right now. Check out all your unofficial content creators too. Got a lot of them in the chat, so if you guys in the chat, go ahead and let people know you got a channel, man. Most of you guys in there, I know, just got really, really good stuff. All right, saga schedule. Obviously, we're at the end of this particular saga for the endurance event. Community corner here. Hey, you got a nice wheeljack there. Look like they got what's that, Wild Rider down there. Good stuff down there as always. They're still doing the Discord emote competition, and another week with no bug fixes. They are still looking into Brainstorm and Skyhawk. Um, so lots of stuff that needs to be fixed on that end. And then the next Space Ape stream is going to be on Thursday, the 31st of September. And that's all it looks like we got for the news this week. So let's go ahead, go back to the lab. We'll take a look in the chat and see who we got. So I know Mercenary Terror, my moderator, good friend and fellow playtester, and currently a member. He was first in the chat. Thanks for joining, as well as Big Blade, another content creator, friend of mine. Thanks for joining. We got Chris Harmon, another one of my friends and moderators, back with us again. S. Clohasi is in there, as well as E. Rods, and my Alliance family mate and good friend, Lord Avix. So shout out to you guys for being here. And yeah, just really glad you guys could join this time. You got my good buddy Stay Puffed in the chat. Thanks for joining. Alpha Trion 1 with us again. Thanks for stopping by. My good buddy Spec is in here again, as well as LJ Gav. Tiny T. Tiny T says finally made a live stream. Yeah, glad to have you, man. So I'm glad you're here. Spencer 394. Another one of our members. Fox the Bomb, my moderator and also fellow member, is here as well. Dennis Smoke, another good friend of mine, content creator as well. Check him out. He's joined the chat. And King Grinlock is here, one of my buddies from Playtest. And he says, great point about individual playstyle. We need to try to branch out with different bots. And I agree with that. And the thing is, you don't want to push it too far. Like I can definitely tell you that sometimes some bots are just not good, right? And typically, when that's the case, I'll say something. I'll be like, and even when I'm in playtesting, I know lately we've been agreeing a lot about stuff in playtest. But the biggest thing is I like to look at it from a standpoint is does the bot work in the current meta? Does he have the statistical ability to work in the current meta? And then after that, I start to look for little tweaks for things. If it's got bugs in the game, anything like that, that's what I look for. I don't try to look for somebody else to have their opinion for me. And so that's why a lot of times I get a little bit on the defensive when somebody says, well, everybody uses this, nobody uses that. I'm just like, well, how do you know if somebody was going to use it or not? You just automatically just throwing out everybody loves this, nobody loves that. And I think it just kind of filters everybody into using the exact same bots, the exact same defenses, so on and so forth. So I was like, well, one thing that makes the game fun is just to have some variety and then just a different approaches. Like I know my approach is different, but I don't have like a loser's approach or anything like that. I sit out, I play pretty hard. I'm still grinding out some things, trying to get some key pieces and stuff like that. But you know, I've learned how to make it, how to make things work. I was telling somebody the other day, that I said, I got pretty good averages, and I'm putting stuff together with wax string and bubble gum. And then you got some guys that just show up, and while they still are tactical, it's like, you got two different types of players. You got players up there that's like, yeah, I'm just that good at strategy, and you got other guys that's like shows up on battlefield, has bot the end. So it is what it is. I'm not mad at any type of player. There's room for different kinds of guys. There's guys for event players, which I was for a long time. If you look back to when I actually started playing Prime League hard mode, I got my first 300 in Prime League hard mode, and it was about a year and like 3 months ago. It ain't been that long. So if anybody want to have any controversy, if anybody want to kind of talk trash or anything about my level of gameplay, I mean, I'm playing at the same competitive level as some guys that have been doing it for all like 6, 7 years. So I'm fine with that. But in any event, let's go back in here. Well, the first thing I want to do, I ain't show y'all the G1 last week. I showed it, but I didn't have it leveled up. Didn't really have the kind of time that I wanted to during the stream, and so let's go take a look at that real quick. So I got my junk heat maxed out, level 70. Um, and right now I got that Nexus Prime core up there, which is one of the points that I believe that was text was making, is like you have to make a really strong argument to not put one of your prime cores up there. Now, in my case, a lot of times I'll actually use in my actual play Alpha Trion so that I can use Nexus Prime on the defensive side, depending on who I've got in the outpost. But in this case, I actually got the Nexus Prime up there just because I be focusing a lot on the offensive ability and making sure that I can take the combiners down easily. But this is what it looks like maxed out. I didn't get to show this last week. So the one thing that people were concerned about was the healing increase. And so the healing increase maxed out G metal 17.4%. So we'll add it so we can take a look at the stats all together. And, it always helps to be able to make an educated decision. Obviously, the event is starting in 2 days, so you can't really make too much of a change from now to then. But who knows? I always see people kind of scrape in at the last second sometimes and get a spot after somebody drops out, which a lot of players are starting to drop out after they found out about the counters for the revivability. So it is what it is. Everybody should always be free to make their own decisions when it comes to bots, and I ain't mad at anybody for that. So it says here every 6 seconds, all tagged allies are healed, equal to 100% of the caster base healing until they are revived. So that portion of it is actually using um, junk heaps healing ability. So it's kind of like a gap in between you actually getting that full revive. Um, I do find that G1, I do find it a little bit strange. I don't think that I'm going to go for it when that time comes, but it is available, but we can take a look at it. Big Blade said he had a request for this stream. Honestly, man, I didn't write that one down if you told me already, so go ahead and post it in the chat. And if I got all the pieces ready for it, I'll run it. Jamie Carpenter asked, where would I rate Junkion among the healers? So it depends on what it is that you're going for. For me, I probably would still put Flatline and Minerva first. Um, but as like Junkeep actually just has, to me, flat out the best ability. Um, just because I mean 100% is 100%. Ain't no hiding that. So when you do a revive to 100%, you're doing a revive to 100%. You know, I don't understand this. I don't understand why that's so hard for some folks, right? But like I said, it all boils down to personal choice. Um, I would rank Chunky. Thing is, like a lot of times, it's like the base stats are low. I'm not really dependent on healing for the base stats because for me, one thing in my play style is that I don't really target those zone heals. I target them at some point, but I don't prioritize them. They're like fifth or sixth in my priority on most bases. So what I'm usually looking for is I'm looking for options to get myself out of trouble if I get in it. Usually I don't. A couple of times I do. I think this bot will help. And I also think that it'll help with stuff like a lot of people had got away from using like a dead end for events and stuff like that. I think those kind of tactics come back into play because you can revive them if anything happens to them. And so I think it winds up being pretty good. Now I'm trying to actually I forgot I got this Micronus coil on runabout right now, so he's taking damage and he don't really care right now. But Junkeep himself is actually taking damage, so I can actually use his to heal himself. And as he takes damage, you can see he just comes back with that full revive. I mean, 100% to 100%. I like it. I'm gonna go for it. And you know what? Maybe I do or don't use it down the stretch. But but yeah, definitely looking forward to it. I can't tell what's going on with my background here. All right. So let's take a look and see what's going on in the chat. Let's see. Big Blade says suggested battle zone, battle breakdown. I do kind of remember that breakdown. 4-star G1 and Gator and 5-star Chumpy G1 and Beto. I can try that. Let me see if I got. Let me see how high I got my breakdown 4-star. You can see if I can run that for you real quick while I got Junk Heap out. King Grimlock says Junk Heap was the best level 1 bot ever released. I mean, when you talk about in terms of using something out of the box, I mean that ability it works out of the box. So yeah, I get it. Even if you don't need them all the way down the stretch, dude. I'll be honest with you. I was very very close to just going no healer for the majority of my attacks because I just use individual healing so much that it's kind of unnecessary, and that's kind of the point that I was making with a lot of guys when I was talking about just the state of the game. I personally don't run two healers. I ran two healers when I was struggling. I didn't decide to run two healers. Once I got to the point where I felt comfortable, I didn't run two healers anymore. So maybe that's just Maybe that's just. Oh wait a minute. I thought I was taking that off of him. But yeah, maybe that's a me thing. But I didn't. I don't really use it anymore. All right, so let's see. You said G1. Okay, so I don't have that G1 breakdown powered up very far. Let me see how many cores I got to fuse. Yeah, Jamie Carpenter made the same point that I was saying earlier. I can see backdoor coming back. So yeah, and that's a good point. Like a lot of people been talking about that coming back as a tactic. So I can see that definitely being coming into play. 100%. And a lot of people been saying the same thing just because you're gonna have that revive up there. I mean, if no more than the expedite some of your tactics that you use during events, I can see that. So yeah, nah, it's definitely a couple of tactics that come back on the table that we previously didn't have on the table. I ain't mad at that. But yeah, I know some of y'all probably posted last week who's going for the 4-star and who's going for the 5-star version of Wreckgar and Junkheap. Let me know in the chat. Like I said, I'm going for the 5. I ain't gonna be ashamed about it. That's like this is only the second time I gone for an endurance bot, man. If we being honest, like the first one I went for was Knockout. I was a little bit disappointed when Knockout when they made the changes to him, but I still use them in war. I still use them in war. I found some pretty good ways to use them, just because I said I actually use a lot of that wall damage, and I use that Alchemist Prime Core in conjunction with that wall damage to give him pretty much make him where he can't die. So I mean, he's really tough to kill like that, especially when you use Fireline. Um, Top shot for you guys on the Autobot side, and he becomes really, really tough to kill. So I actually probably look at that in a couple of minutes. So let's take a look at this. Let's take a look at Junk Heap. I gotta go to my healers. It's actually a lot faster to go search your bots that way. It's one of the better changes that they made in the game. I run them in like zone 13 because I don't got these guys leveled very high. See how that goes. And Jamie Carpenter said you went for like the last 7 to 8 endurance bots. I feel you. Oh, when somebody put their base in the front there. And I can actually see this going really well just because you can stun to keep your bots alive, and you can also revive if things go too far sideways. So it's not actually a bad pairing there. And with Gator, these guys are sitting right back there on the pad. You got good range there. Um, yeah, that's not bad. Big blade. I say if that's a bot that you use a lot. Of course, in this particular scenario, Tripticon just took out the base, but yeah, nah, it's not bad pairing at all. Yeah, Mirage is Breakdown's counterpart. So let's see. Stay Puff says that he's going for the 5-star. He's going to level Sentius and Rotostorm this weekend. Hey, Stanley Michael Tangs joined us. Thanks for joining, buddy. I said, I know it's morning time over there when you're at. So, oh, I just used the 4-star junk heap. That was pretty dope, man. Like, he was saying that I ain't actually put like I ain't put any levels into him in playtest. I did actually go and look at his ability though, because I just wanted to see the differences in ability, and that's what we end up getting was I want to say he's like 70%. And I think my screen just froze, so let me do this. Let me see. Let me go back to the lab for a second, and I'll take a look at the chat for a second while I get that resituated. Let me move this over. Yeah, and BlueStack's been doing that for me a lot lately. It'll just sit up there and it'll just freeze on me, and it's all good, and usually comes back and works fine. Hey, my boy Trap is up there in the chat. What's good with you, bro? I said, I know you was supposed to be traveling today. You make it home safe? But yeah, man. Okay, I think I got it. All right, so we can get back into the test server. Continue taking a look at Junk Pete. Oh, okay, bet you still traveling. That's what's good. But yeah, man. I'm just like, I like the bot. I think I'm gonna use the bot. It's cool. It's cool. I ain't even tripping like that. Like, I know a lot of people dropped when they heard about the counters, and I actually want to talk about that here in a second. We can go take a look at this 4-star real quick, because I know I started getting the question last time. So yeah, you talking about 60% health at level 10, and when you go up to 11, ability 11, that's 10% more. So for those of you going for the 4-star, you'll have a 70% health revive when you use that 4-star. Still, it's pretty good, man. I mean, the warrior class, when they get that 80% boost, you can use this to get a 70% boost on the rest of your bots. It's not bad at all, to be honest. So yeah, that's what I'm looking at for the weekend. It's like like I said, I want to do most of my stuff. I want to do most of my stuff on Friday. King Grimlock made a good point. He says he like Junk Heap and Wreck Guard, but that zero health revive risk is real with Nightstick. So this is one of the conversations we started having in testing. This is one of the conversations we started having just in general when I was throughout the week when I was talking to different players, and one of the concepts that we were talking about is like, well, everybody's gonna use growl, everybody's gonna use um, big, but they're gonna use growl, they're gonna use like a big daddy, they're gonna use those minions that come in style as groundhog. Those have become in style defensively. So they was like, well, so we got into the conversation, well, who's gonna actually use acid? And they say, well, I'm not gonna just use nightstick or fracas. But honestly, man, like for me, one of the things that I do, and this base isn't really set up for, well, it kind of is. One of the things I do is I use like Nemesis Prime, and it, it it started to get on my nerves a little bit because some folks were like, well, who's actually going to use that on defense? I was like, I'll use it and I will cover up, use that shield on like a Liege Maximo or on my Shock Tower or my Megatronus on my MDS or something like that. So I said, yeah, it works. You can't hurt them for 16 seconds. So I was like, yeah, if you go, and for a while I did actually have Fracas on him. So it just throws your timing off. The acid thing, honestly, it can be and it can not be a big deal. And I'll actually move him to the front so we can see how that negates the healing. It can be a big deal. It can not be a big deal, just depending on how you approach it. I figured that most players at higher levels will be able to navigate it, but at the same time, who knows? So let's see. Who should I put in here? Who would be good for a test like that? Let's see. I'm gonna put Blast Off in there because he'll probably die pretty quickly over time. We'll go back. We'll go get Junkion. That is the 4-star. I want a 5-star. Stanley, Stanley Michael Tang says, "Love the shirt." Yeah, I said, I'm a huge Marvel fan, so yeah, I got the Venom shirt on today. I probably should be doing that when I'm like actually playing Marvel Snap, but it's all good. So this is what they're talking about. So, oh, actually, I had to look to see if I actually got Fracas. Yeah, I got Fracas on him. So if I go tag this bot and he's being hit with acid, you can clearly see when he with Nemesis using acid right there, my bot dies, even though I use that ability. And so that's what they're talking about. I'll be honest, when I first found out about it early in the week, I told Space Ape, I said, "Hey man, y'all got to say something about this because this is, I feel like it drastically changes the way people are gonna go about the event." I did see a couple of players in my family and a couple of other families drop out after they saw this encounter. But the Space Apes approach to it, they said, "Look, all bots, at some point, they have counters, and all the other healers have counters. So they treated the revive as a heal because and it's kind of hard to argue. They said, well, does the bot have lower health and all of a sudden gain health? Then that's a heal in their opinion. And honestly, after they explained it, like what I don't like, I like now I can accept when I don't get my way easily. I'll just be like, oh, okay, well, I gave my talking points and everything. I did tell them that I was like, I felt like, and I don't use this word very often, but I did tell them that I felt like the ability is the selling point of the bot. And so if he's going to constantly be countered by multiple different ways, because it'll also get countered by the Ray Blocker's build bot, I said that's going to make him useless. I don't use that word often, but it's just because he has such low stats. His stats are more comparable to First Aid and Reflector than it is to any of the other healers where they are have a little bit more healing per second and stuff like that. And they told us wait over. I think it was over the weekend last week, or over. It's like the next. Yeah, they told us wait till Monday, and Monday they came back. That was their verdict. They gave a laundry list of reasons why, and though they honestly they were all good reasons, and I left it alone after that. I said, you know what, I appreciate you guys for giving us a good honest explanation of what you guys discussed. I can't argue with that. I'm not going to be upset with that. What I do get upset with somewhat is when guys say, oh well, you know we don't want this bot because this is not a good bot because there's only one way to play the game and it's with these healers. I was like, that's kind of, to me, that's kind of nonsense. So um, I stopped communicating with folks that were doing that and taking personal shots and stuff over the week, and we good. So yeah, that's what I'm looking at. They gave a good list of reasons. I actually thanked them for giving us, appropriate reasons, and we moved. Between myself and the apes, we moved on from it like gentlemen. So it is what it is. Mm. Yeah, Escloase says nothing wrong with having more strategic choices. A game that you just drop your bots and walk away while they trash a base would get boring fast. And it says cough, type, titan assault. Oh yeah, that's exactly why that gets boring. And I think there's balance. And I've been saying this for a little bit. I feel like when you make new bots like endurance bots, like don't get me wrong, they should be good in the current meta, right? But you shouldn't be building them solely for the current meta. You should be building them for the next meta. And the reason why I say that is Space Ape already knows what changes they plan on making to the game. They already know they've been knowing those changes for a while. And so because they are making those changes, it makes it kind of a easy choice to kind of make bots a certain way. We're gonna make them so that you need them later on, and you might not know that you need them, but you need them. And like case in point, there was a time when people were avoiding pipes and headstrong. In the background, they were doing a whole rework for them. In the background, they knew the acid meta was coming. Now everybody's saying that's like the one of the best, if not the best, bot in the game. I'm just saying that was a really strategic move when they put that batch together. And people didn't know at the time that that's how that was going to turn out, but that's exactly how that turned out. And I think they need to do more of that, because when you do more of that, the game stays interesting. You have reasons to pursue, and like there should be some times when you're going in there and you're playing this game and you miss out on a bot like that, and you's like, oh shit, I don't want that to happen to me again. And so you you'll start having more and more people playing the endurance events. And I think that's what the game is about. I think that's what enhances game the survivability of the game. And I think ultimately that ends up being in most of our best interests. So I'm all for it. um, I ain't got a problem with it. He said, "Any Trap asked me, did any combat and core combinations on this bot stand out to me?" Now, I mean, I use my healers pretty much. I use them the same way. I usually use like Alpha Shrine. I'm probably going to continue to use a Prime Core on it. To be honest, um, for my healers, most of my stuff just works based off of team synergy. I'm not, with the exception of what's the one for Wheeljack and Shockwave. With the exception of those cores, Kunai and Beto, that's the only ones I was like, oh man, I definitely need to use that on that. Otherwise, I just go with team needs personally. I mean, like even with the G1 on like Junk Heap, you're not gonna G1 this dude to being the having high health per second or anything like that. It's just not happening, and I accept that. A lot of people don't, and that's okay too. And while I'm sitting here just kind of chit chatting with you guys because I got a request from Stay Puff, which he reminded me that he had that request. But I was actually tracking that you still that you still made that request. So he wanted to look at how LOP and Armada Megatron would clear out areas with uh where is he at? Let me go to my gunners with Spinister and with Thrust, I believe it was. So it's Rotostorm and Strafe for you guys on the Autobot side. Now I didn't really get to ramp up this Armada G1. You can go a couple different ways with that though. If I put a little bit more um, cores into it, obviously it'll get some more damage and stuff like that. And we will also throw we will also throw Thrust in there. Okay, there he is. And let's see how that works out. I can go a bunch of different ways with that. I think I got, all right, I got a level 10 EO core up there. Actually, that's not on him. That's on, I got a level 20 EO right there. I'm gonna try that. So try to throw as much damage on there as possible without without having to go do any more cores and anything. I also put that roller force up there just because I wanted him to just because I wanted to try to speed everybody up, or at least speed up Armada Megatron. Yeah, Big Blade too. King Grimlock's point. I tried him on defense. I tried him on defense last week. It didn't really do anything as far as junk heat. So you can try that. And for those of you in the chat, Fox the Bomb just gave away membership. Looks like Trap actually won this one. Congrats, Trap. And so, like, I know somebody was asking the questions earlier. This one's not very strong. I'm gonna have to go against a stronger base, but I'll take a look. But as far as memberships go, so it's like three different types. Um, there's one for 99, there's one for 199, and there's one for 499. And to be honest with you, the people that are paying for those memberships, um, I gotta start getting you guys some more content, because what it happens is a lot of times you'll see a lot of my content early. I did start a series. I did start a series earlier in the week regarding the acid bots, just ranking the acid bots. I started that one off with Ramhorn, which unfortunately that's only on the Decepticon side that has acid ability. But yeah, that's what I was looking at. And I already told everybody that Leozak is going to be number 8. I just did a video about Leozak. I'm not doing another video about Leozak. Uh, so I'll be moving on to the number 7 video hopefully next week. But obviously, I got an endurance event this weekend, and so you know, content probably gonna take a back seat to that, with the exception of if I decide to go and do, with the exception if I decide to go and do a live stream or something like that, which I'll probably do since I can't make a video for this week. That's not a good base for. I'm trying to find a good front-loaded base. Hey, Doja Cat's in there. Thanks for joining. Actually, I can use my own base that's front-loaded and see how that works. Yeah, Alpha Trion 1 also made a good point. Waza tested Junk Heap on defense last week in his stream as well, and it seemed to just heal itself. I couldn't tell who that motherfucker was healing, to be honest, but it looked like it was itself to me. But I genuinely couldn't tell, so I said, man, you know what? I'm not using this no way. He's gonna get killed. Um, it is what it is. And one thing that works really well with this is it does actually work really well with that roller force. I know a lot of people don't like speed boost abilities, but you go to get a bot like LOP and you go get him with that Amalgamous Prime core. Like, I'm not using it right now, I'm using G1 at level 1, but I say I go use it with like the Amalgamous Prime core. It can clear out some areas really fast with the use of a bot like roller force. And I know a lot of people were talking about putting all these three together, or even a bot like Sentius along with Spinister and Thrust. So yeah, it works. Grim King Grimlock said freeze, keeping it real. I mean, I tried to, man. I was like, look, I mean, if you go try to be somebody different up there on camera or whatever, man, y'all lucky I'm not just sitting up here drinking drinking my bottle of Maker's Mark, and the only reason why I'm not is because I ain't got no cup. Because if I had a cup, Trapper asked me what I got in the cup. Shit. But nah, man. Like, all right. But enough of that. So I'm going. Actually, maybe I should actually switch service for this. I'm gonna go to the live server for this. I want to talk about what my plan is to approach the event. Um, really, I'm thinking about 3 bots that I want to try to get through some levels this weekend, and I already started my plan last week. So let me see. Let me go into the lab real quick. Let me switch out this battlefield. Let me get into the live server battlefield so we can actually take a look at which bots I'm going to be pursuing and why. But yeah, bro, like I was like, and the thing is, it's like the bots I'm looking at, they're not in the meta yet, but I also don't give a fuck. So I seen it work. I started using it on test. Uh, I'm a put something together. I talked about it a little bit last week, but I gotta be able to get my live server account up first. Actually, I think I already had this thing open. Spec says C cups. Big Joe in the chat. Thanks for joining. Old buddy of mine. Tara says, I always make him like a new bot, like in this example of Thrust. Yeah, and the thing is, when Thrust first came out, like I said, and the thing is with Thrust, I think you gotta know how to use Thrust because a lot of people were just saying Thrust got him into trouble. Um, I never really had that problem because I always kind of had a vision for how to use him. Now, am I gonna use him at every level of the game? Probably not. But this is a situation now, kind of like Stay Puff was asking, where you do actually you think about it because now you do have Malice, you do have Spinister, you do have these bots that you can use to kind of make that work a little bit. All right, hold on. Boom. Okay, I finally got to my live account. All right, so the way I'm approaching this is going to be pretty simple. I'm working on so it's bots that I'm going to obviously run in my teams, but my primary focus after I run those teams, because I am trying to fight for points and I'm trying to be as efficient as possible, so I'm really only looking at 3 bots that I'm actually going to actively level throughout the event, and those 3 bots are Terramanda. I'm going to probably coin and take out earlier. Last weekend I got him to level 60. Um, Kind of took me a little bit longer than I expected, but I want to use him as a trigger point for Slipstream, who's at level 61 right now. So that's going to be one of the bots that I'm going to work on as well. And then the third bot that I'm going to be working on, and I'm probably going to have to use, I am going to have to use a skip for him, is going to be Drag Strip. And the reason why I want to do that is this. Long story short, what I wanted to do is kind of set off different explosions using Slipstream and clearing out large areas at one time. And so if I'm doing it against a resource building, then I can use drag strip. Drag strip, once I get them to a high enough level, it's going to take all of those resource buildings out. And you can also take out build bots and stuff like that. But he does get that damage boost when you go against those resource buildings. And as you can see there with this ability, and with his G1 there in place, you're increasing that ability damage. So that'll conserve me some points. One of the primary concerns that people do have with using Terramander is that he's expensive as hell. But I only plan on using them once, maybe twice. And the debuff is nice. People don't really talk about that debuff because they don't really look at things that they don't always look at slow down or speed up abilities. So that's what I'm going to try to do. That's what the team I'm trying to build. Actually, I'm going to flip back over to. I'm actually going to flip back over to. Well, I was going to flip back over to my test server. Oh, there you go, right there. If I can. Shit, go back to the live stream screen. See if I can get back over to. And that's not what I wanted. I wanted this screen. And so, yeah, like I was talking about it a little bit last week, but what I've been working on is something a little bit more like this. Big Blade said slow down. So, yeah, the ability, when you're looking at it, it's kind of like a debuff. So, well, not slow down, but lower enemy damage, I should say. So, abilities, and what I was saying is abilities like that when you're lowering uh, damage and stuff like that, boosting speed, slowing down, people tend to not go for those as much, but it's more of a debuff. But yeah, it is damage reduction. So let me clarify before anybody misquote me on it. But yeah, it's a damage reduction. I always say slow down because like when I look at it and I look at things in damage per second, then that's like, all right, you're not getting as much damage, you know, in the same amount of time that you would. Uh, and so even though this is kind of a little bit of a lower level base, what I'm looking at trying to build is something where I kind of just pick on certain certain weaker defenses, and in this particular case, they got all their resources stuffed in the back. So what I wind up doing is I wind up using Terramander here in conjunction with Slipstream. That's air raid for you guys on the Autobot side, and you can see just how quickly it clears out. Now that's a lower level base, so obviously you got to look at how that applies to Prime League hard mode, but it does apply because even when you in at least the current version of Prime League hard mode, it still works. So wait a minute, Big Blade, what you saying in there? Are you trying not to get drag strip? I was actually kind of pissed off when I got him at first, and I actually let him sit there for like a good like what 2 3 months before I had this idea, and it's actually an old idea. Like uh, I know Texas Hammer had used it in a few of his teams in the past or whatever. I don't know what made people stop going away from it. Um, Man, that shit does work though. Gonna keep it a band with you. Stay Puff says you need to be careful with Terramander because he caused rush tanks and minions to get stuck. All right, yeah, I'll PM you then because you said you got more explanation for it. Yeah, nah, that's cool, man. I appreciate the lookout. Um, and hopefully, if that's the case, we can find a way to navigate it. I know you're a real experienced player and stuff, so I'll always. And that's why I say, man, like even as like a content creator, I don't try to sit up here like I know everything. Like I know what I do like and dislike, but I always take people's opinions, man. So if you get, I know you got some stuff. If you telling me that there's some dangers up there, I 100% trust you with that because I played with you before when you in play tests and stuff like that, and I know you know your stuff. So yeah, I'll definitely be talking to you. It probably won't be today. I'm actually about to go out shopping in a little bit, But I'll hit you up tomorrow so we can discuss because I'm interested before I invest this heavily in this bot. But yeah, and I ain't bring a combiner with me or nothing this go around. But hey, I mean, it cleared out that whole front section just using drag strip. You know, I don't even think I didn't even use Terramander yet, but that's what I'm trying to build. And the speed that comes along with that is crazy. Well, how quickly you get through certain areas, front areas of the base. So yeah, yeah, he's saying been like that since release. I remember somebody talking about it, Stay Puft, when it first came out. I just I don't think I had ran specifically into those problems. But yeah. Alright, cool man. Spec said invest in my turtle. I ain't got turtle, not the at least not the 5 star. But I I don't dislike turtle. I just like Terramander more. And I've been saying that for a while. I thought they were kind of similar. I mean, I know they got the shield dropping thing or whatever for for half shell. Uh, I just my concern for my particular playstyle is some of the other pathing issues that I'm going to run into with him, even though it's still a really good bot. So um, maybe I'll hit you up tomorrow too. You can give me a tutorial on half shell so that I can open my eyes a little bit. You know what I'm talking about? But all right, y'all. Hey, I'm gonna take off for the day. I got a couple other things I want to do. So yeah, man. I'll let you know if I wind up doing the second live stream this weekend or whatever. I'll post it on Discord and I'll post something on my YouTube. But other than that, I will see you guys next week. And maybe I'll see some of y'all in Endurance Fan. Who knows? But I'll see you on the battlefield. Freezy us out.